The term "the ground" is most commonly known as an army or infantry term to describe or show the terrain or surface of the earth where significant military operations occurred or are about to occur. I'm going to use the term as a title to describe a series of videos showing significant Australian military battles of predominantly our involvement in the Great War of 1914 to 18, or as we know it, World War I. The first few videos walk you over the actual ground and events significant to Australians on Gallipoli. Please just learn of and perhaps occasionally remember those who have gone before you, those who lived and died by their deeds on this ground. Before we proceed, there's some housekeeping we need to tend to. Charles Bean was a preeminent official Australian journalist during the First World War. He also became the official Australian World War I historian. Hill 971 was of great value to the Allies because views from it commanded both sides of the Gallipoli Peninsula. In this photo, which looks west from Hill 971, in the far distant centre of the image, you can see Suvla Bay. If you look below Suvla Bay, at the beginning of the high ground, there is an obvious valley. That is Asmodee, and you will get to know Asmodee. On the right-hand side, top of the screen, there is a track that leads down an obvious spur line that nowadays is a fire trail. That is the track that leads down Abdul Rahman Bear, and it is the track that the Australians intended to use to get up to Hill 971 to take it. They never made it. The Turks were allied to Germany during the First World War. That is why we were there. Some of the videos you're about to see are rough, contemporary and amateur videos filmed whilst I was pitting myself against the terrain of Asmodee. Please enjoy real, live, raw exploration. Now some definitions, Turkish definitions. You'll hear these terms and this is what they mean. Dia is stream or valley. Tepe or tep is the top, the peak or mountain. Bear is spur line or ridge line. Hill 971 in Turkey is known as Kokasiman or Siman Tepe. And the young fella's name is Mac. He's now a 21-year-old plumber in the Northern Territory. Right, let's have a quick look around where we're going over the next few videos. This is the Gallipoli mud map. So this is the Gallipoli Peninsula running down to the south. Right down the bottom of the Gallipoli Peninsula is where the main British landings took place during the 25th of April 1915. Next to there is the Dardanelles, or the Strait of Dardanelles, which gave access to the Sea of Marmara. Sea of Marmara gave access to Istanbul, or as it was known then, Constantinople, the capital of the Ottoman Turkish Empire, allied to Germany in the First World War. So let's have a look at more detail of where we're going. Anzac was where the Australians and New Zealanders landed and came ashore and established a beachhead that ran about 1 kilometre inland. And to the north of Anzac, in the August offensive, is Hill 971, and this is where Monash's brigade was sent to take Hill 971. Just towards the west from Hill 971 is Asmodee, a large, obvious valley that runs down towards the coast. Hill 100, Hill 60, and the Turkish machine gun positions on Alatep on the northern side of Asmodea. But to put this story into some context, I'm first going to show you this photograph of the neck, that famous place at Gallipoli, 2 tennis court sizes big, that was made famous during the movie Gallipoli and the fateful charge of 4 waves of Australian light horsemen, where most of them were cut down. During the charge at the neck, the Australians suffered some 372 casualties. This image was taken at the neck by Sir Hubert Wilkins in 1919. You can see the Turkish monument to their dead centre right of the image, and in the foreground you can see human bones. They are the remains of Australian soldiers who charged at the neck on the 7th of August 1915. This is also an image taken by Hubert Wilkins, and it depicts in us the remains of an Australian soldier, about centre screen, slightly lower and left, on the slopes of Hill 100, out in the western reaches of Gallipoli. What happened here on the 8th of August 1915, when John Monash's 4th Brigade attempted to come up a valley called Asmodea to try and take the heights of Hill 971, which commanded views of the Dardanelles and the Straits, yielded 765 casualties from the 4th Brigade's 14th, 15th and 16th Battalion. So those casualty numbers are over twice as high as the casualties that we accrued as Australians at the neck. Not much was heard about what happened in that very costly attempt to take Hill 971. And it wasn't until Charles Bean revisited the area in 1919 that he was able to piece together where most of the 300 plus killed Australians, who all died in the space of a few short hours on the 8th of August 1915, where they actually lay. So this is my story to you. 15 of May 2023, Gallipoli, in fact, about 300 metres from Hill 100, which is out the back of Hill 60. And we're going to talk about the August offensive. The question of what happened to Monash's 4th Brigade on the western slopes up near Abdul Rahman ridgeline, which led up to the highest feature on the Gallipoli Peninsula, which is Hill 971, which the Allies wanted to take. The result was so bad for Monash's brigade, they got entirely stopped and in effect slaughtered by the Turks trying to get up a valley called Asmodea, Asma Valley. The Australians had planned to come through Australia Valley, break into Asmodea Valley, which was eminently doable. They tried to do it at night, got lost. That much has been known. In 1919, Charles Bean went into Asmodea. He came up Asmodea and he found a lot of the remains of Australians. Wasn't entirely clear where he found them. So what I've tried to determine is where actually did the Australians get stopped and where were those Turkish positions, particularly the machine guns, which apparently wrought havoc amongst the Australian troops trying to get up Asmodea and then up onto Abdul Rahman ridgeline to get to Hill 971. So in 2009, David Cameron wrote a book, a definitive book about the August offensive, entitled "Sorry Lads, but the Order is to Go." The other book I've relied heavily on for reference material is Gallipoli by Les Carleon. This exquisite book is by far the best text that covers the Anzac involvement on the Gallipoli Peninsula in 1915. And came up with a theory based on evidence. The Australians actually got into Kajik Deer, this valley here, instead of the next valley over, which is Asmadeer. So there's Asmadeer here, Hill 100, and proceeded up Kajik Deer. It got very steep, narrowed quite quickly. They came back, found a cutting very close to Hill 100, and that's probably this large cutting here that's still there today. Got up on top of Yuan Tep, which is the rise between Hill 60 and Hill 100 up here, and proceeded up the ridge line, came into open paddocks and got stopped by the Turkish defences. We're not exactly sure where the Turkish defences were, and not exactly sure where they got stopped. There are hypotheses that the Hill 100 feature, Yuan Tep, that the sides of Yuan Tep here leading down into Asmadeer is where the Australians tried to come down. That's where they got massacred. So I went looking for Turkish positions, I went looking for Australian remains. That was the purpose of this visit. Over the next two videos, I will walk you over the very ground, both Turkish and Allied, where this poorly planned tragedy unfolded.